Welcome to the video companion for Nautical News 15. I hate this boat. This is the engine from the boat that was described in Nautical News 15. The customer that had the overheat issue at the beginning of the Memorial Day weekend. And I'm going to kind of go through, we're going to show some video here. I'm going to try to briefly describe what happened, why it happened, and what could have been done to prevent this, more importantly, from happening. Now, first off, this is the engine motor mount. You can see obvious signs that there was corrosion, salt water getting onto this mount for an extended period of time. Okay, this wasn't a one-time occurrence. This had been going on for quite some time. You could actually see that the nut is actually broken away due to the corrosion. Now, how did that get to be like that? Very simply, from where the exhaust manifold bolts to the engine, water had gotten past the gasket, had dripped down through here and settled on top of the mount. You can see down through here along this side of the engine all the corrosion around the mating surfaces. Okay, and we're going to go through and we're going to kind of look at how the water got to this area where it normally shouldn't get to. Okay, and for that we're now going to shift the camera. We're going to look down at the exhaust manifold and where it would bolt to the engine block. And again, you can see signs of rust in an area where there really shouldn't be any. We're going to move to the top side, which this would be where the riser mounts. Now, the center section here on your boat, this is where the exhaust gases come up through, and they go through the riser, through the elbow, out the Y pipe. These passages here are the water jackets. This is where the water cools the exhaust. You could see that these are corroded. We're going to move to the riser, and you're going to see the same thing. This is the area where the exhaust gases would be passing through, and this would be where the water would be passing through to cool the exhaust. What happened with this particular boat was the water jackets got corroded to the point where it eventually, the water couldn't pass through and allowed water to defeat this gasket and come back into this passage, come out this passage, and actually get down into the engine itself, which may have contributed to the problem that the owner had, not only with the overheat, because it couldn't cool the exhaust gases, so it started running hot, but then it allowed water to get down into the cylinders and possibly contributed to a hydraulic lock of the engine where the engine wouldn't start, wouldn't spin over. So at this point, the customer, fortunately, looks like he has good compression all the way around. Doesn't look like the engine has suffered any permanent damage. He's definitely going to need a new set of exhaust manifolds, a new riser, but there are simple things that the customer could have done to prevent this. One is, of course, yearly maintenance. And be aware with your exhaust manifolds, especially in salt water, if you get 4 or 5 years out of them, consider yourself lucky. But eventually, these are cast iron and they're going to have to be replaced. These passages get corroded, water can't flow through, and that water gets down into the exhaust passage and gets down into the engine, you're going to have a problem. The owner of the boat, if he had been at least looking at his engine periodically, would have noticed, of course, this corrosion occurring, which would have told him there was a problem. He would have also noticed the corrosion dripping down the side of the exhaust manifold, the rust, which would have told them that the passages were being blocked and the water was coming out of the side of the manifold. Another sign that he had had an issue in the past is if you look at the exhaust elbow, you will see here at the rubber boot that the paint has been blistered. So this has been overheated to the point where the paint started to burn or blister, not to the point where the rubber boot started to suffer any visible signs of damage on the outside, but possibly on the inside. These boots will probably be replaced as well, in addition to these elbows at least being sanded down and repainted. This is what happens when you don't use your boat, when you don't properly maintain your boat, when you don't go in the engine compartment and take a look at your engine compartment. This problem right here was completely and totally avoidable. But this happens a lot. I'm going to take one final look, and then we're going to go show you the customer's drive. And we're going to show you what happens when, on a drive, when you're not doing your annual maintenance and having somebody pull the drive and check alignment and check bellows hoses, what happens there. So, let's go take a look at the drive, shall we? Alright, we're continuing our video companion piece to Knotical News 15, I Hate This Boat. And now we're going to look at another problem that this particular customer had that he really wasn't aware of, but again, due to lack of maintenance, he's got some issues here as well. What we're looking at is his outdrive. And here in particular is the universal. This is the shaft that passes through the transom assembly and into the back of the engine. See this piece right here? This isn't supposed to be there. This is what's known as a gimbal bearing. This is supposed to be in the transom assembly, okay, but it's not. The reason why it's not is because it is completely rusted onto the shaft. This is not good. The universal being as rusted as it is not good. You can see all this corrosion back in here. I'm going to kind of back away. I'm going to go down the shaft. This is a problem. This is it's repairable, it's fixable, but it's certainly going to cost a lot more now than if the customer had just done due diligence and had his boat serviced annually. This is the same customer that could not tell me when his last maintenance had been done on his boat. This problem here that we're seeing are more likely due to a bellows, a tear in the bellows hose. The bellows hose covers this area as the drive mates to the transom assembly. Protects it from water, but if you get a tear in that bellows, which is a pretty, it's a heavy-duty rubber boot that's ribbed, if you get a tear in it, it'll allow water to get into this area, and this is what will happen. But this didn't happen just one time. This had been going on for quite some time. You can see, due to the amount of corrosion that's in here, the fact that the gimbal bearing has fused itself or welded through rust corrosion to the shaft. This wasn't got a tear in the bellows boot one time and this is what happened. This was probably over the course of 12 to 24 months. My personal professional opinion. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video companion piece for Knotical News 15. And do your maintenance. It's a lot cheaper in the long run than having to go through what this customer is looking at right now, which, by the way, is not warranty. Thanks. Have a great day and safe boating.